Like, so I'm simply highlighting this article here because it was one of the few that came up in this. On a side note, the amount of fucking advertisements I keep seeing on YouTube for like, anything you need to know, just like Google it, hey, and the Google AI will tell you what you need to know. However, I did. I simply googled this, not because I needed to know additional information, but I couldn't remember where I was seeing what I was thinking about. Henceforth, I ended up on this, and I will press the butt button in just a minute, so you'll see what I was talking about. But regardless, right? So 2025, and I mean, whether it's 2024, 2027, 2029, etc. Like, I think this is a concurrent theme. It's probably going to get worse as time goes on. However, this article here says that 50% of women will be soon single, right? I think this is in America, but the research consistently shows that single women are happy. Whatever. That's I don't care about any of that crap. But there's a portion down here that did sort of ring metaphorical alarm bells, where it says that the rise in single women isn't a rejection of love. It's a rejection of structural inequality. I mean, fuck off. Feminist BS. There was a bit. There we go. When women stop marrying out of obligation, men lose access to something they've long taken for granted: the unpaid labour of women. This dynamic is sometimes called the tall girl problem, the idea that women with more power, etc., are struggling to find someone on their level. But perhaps it's not a problem that women are raising their standards. Perhaps the real problem is that too many men have stopped rising to meet them. Right. God. I mean, fuck off. Like, what? I, I have to make this abundantly clear before this sounds like I'm just talking utter waffle for the sake of talking. Right. In the best part of the last 30 or 40 years, specifically the last 20 years anyway, yeah, you have seen a clear cut difference in marital status, childbirth, and whatnot, childbirths or births in general in a Scottish context on the decline, marriages on the decline and whatnot. And that is in part, unfortunately, so due to the upping of standards for the women's, etc. But like, as I said, I don't really care about that shit. Like, I'm not like my name isn't fucking 42. Like, I don't sit and cry about fucking MGTOW 24/7. However, but like, even Google, Google for example, right? Yes, the number of single women and the number of single person households in Scotland is predicted to increase, driven by demographic shifts like an aging population and changing societal attitudes towards relationships. Recent Scotland census data indicates a rising proportion of single individuals, with a projection pointing to a continued increase in both single person households and older women living alone. Come down to this little bit here, and it says societal views on relationships are evolving, right? With an increasing acceptance of single life and less pressure to be in a formal relationship. Just to conclude this little segment here, it then says that marital status, the proportion of married people in Scotland, has decreased while the proportion of single people has increased over time. But does the decrease in marital status indicate happiness? You know? And I think the problem for a lot of young men, and I still consider myself a young man. I mean, I do know that I'm going to be 30 pretty soon, next month to be exact. Right? And I've been out a couple of times this year in town and whatnot. And I don't like going out in town, to be honest. I am a bit of a hermit, and 95% of my sort of reclusive status is sort of self. That's not the word I'm looking for. It's my own choice. We'll put it that way, right? 5% of the time I do go out sometimes with some of the boys that I'm friends with up in Inverness. And it's been ample opportunity for me to fucking embrace tomfoolery and whatnot, but I really ain't about that sort of shit. However, my point being though, that like, even if I was to embrace said tomfoolery, it's not like I'm gonna wake up in the morning and feel fulfilled about life, satisfied with life, you know. Back in the day, and this is just a fact, back in the fucking day, right, our grandparents, for example, right, they had aspirations to marry. They had, well, simultaneously had pretty damn die hard work ethic, right? But by and large, they had that in tuned into their mindset. But they also want to have families. And what you now see nowadays is just, unfortunately, just none of that, You know, it's the total erosion of what made us who we were as people. It's it's not even like, I hate these like fucking annoying terms like degeneracy. Oh, you're such a degenerate. Yeah, said to. Like, it's not even that. Like, personally, from personal, my lived experience, because I'm so like so progressive. Nah, what I'm saying is, it's like these people, Mr. Hashtag God all day, like they they say that shit while they sit on their non-existent high horse. I don't necessarily think a lot of people really truly understand what it means to be a young man anymore, right? Obviously, so like if you come from a different generation, how are you supposed to sort of empathize with young men in particular? And I somewhat empathize with them to a certain extent, in the context of that it's not like society used to be. We all know that. Society is not how it once upon a time was, you know? And unfortunately, that by consequence leads to a lack of births and marriages just in and of itself. But more importantly, or sad, or more sadly even, is the fact that with that comes ramifications, Men in and of themselves feel that they're not, participating in society properly because they're not earning enough. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. I could go on. I've talked about this stuff for years. But before I go, right, look at this. Just briefly. So this isn't an app I use all too often, but I just want to show you this. Right. So in the course of the last like fucking week or so, right, I've got 4 likes because I'm such an alpha male, right? See who likes you. This is Tinder. This is one of the very many dating apps, right, that you can involve yourself in if you think that you're going to trying to improve your life. And I'm telling you right now, boys, you ain't improving your life doing this shit because it doesn't fucking work, right? Bumble, I think, is another one. Not Tumblr, sorry, fucking Tinder. Irrespective, it doesn't work, but regardless, so this is a common theme on the likes of Tinder. So I've got 4 likes, right? You can see that. See who likes you. Oh, boom, you need to pay for it, You need to pay for it. They're just literally exploiting people who presumably want to seek a better life. Seek that pursuit of happiness, so to speak. And it's just ridiculous. I won't be paying for that crap. But the point remains the same. that a lot of people do fall into that trap. You know, and then when you come to like social isolation, loneliness, and then you get suicidality, alcoholism, drug deaths, etc. Right? There's a lot of problems in our fucking society at present. The root cause, don't think could be pinpointed. However, I just think it's pretty fucked up that if you compare and contrast the life that you live or the life that your children may live in the future alongside the lives that your great grandparents or your grandparents lived at, for all the hardships that occurred back in the day, historically speaking, they knew what was what. And I think that a lot has to be said in relation to explaining away the sort of air quote unquote incel movement and MGTOW and all that stuff. Because there is a lot of young men out there who do struggle. And I can understand, totally empathise with them, like when you put it into fucking perspective, that the likelihood of them finding a partner rests solely on a fucking date up. You know what I mean? Nah, man. Pretty fucked up, man. Anyway, I think I'll leave it at that. Just shooting the shit, I guess. Anyway, adios. Bye bye.